what visualization taught me was how to start planting ideas and pictures in my brain so that I could rewrite the narrative. Now, what a lot of us don't know is that our brain doesn't know the difference between the images that we see every day and the images that we program. Therefore, in order to actively increase your ability to thrive, if you are not programming intentional images into your brain, you are allowing the world to do it for you. So I want to just get a yes, yes, if we're okay with releasing some of the stories that aren't ours. Yes, yes? I want to get a yes, yes if we can become open to reprogramming our thoughts that no longer serve us. Can I get a yes, yes? And I want to get a yes, yes if we are okay today with being a little bit uncomfortable, but knowing that that can transform who we are, and what we are creating for ourselves and our family. Can I get a yes, yes? Up until recent, I always felt that I had to hide in order to be seen and accepted. And I made a commitment this year that I'm going to show up as myself, and those who accept me for that are meant to be in my life. Thank you. I grew up with an abundance of love and community, juxtaposed during the era of the gun. So my dichotomy as a young person was navigating the fact that I grew up with a single parent mother, and I had access to theaters and spaces that I could just go into and create, but that violence was normalized because of the socio-political layers of our city. Now, when I was 6 years old, I was told that I had a learning disability, and I was taken out of regular classes and I was put into what the teacher referred to as special classes. I remember going home and being like, Mom, guess what? My teacher put me in a special class. And I don't know if anyone in here has a parent that immigrated to Canada, or a Caribbean one at that. But I specifically remember my mom saying a few words and then going in and teaching the teacher a few things about herself that she didn't know. That day I learned two things. The first thing was that I adopted a narrative. I adopted this idea that regardless of what I did, I wasn't good enough. When I'd walk into rooms and I'd try to speak up, I would second guess myself because I was afraid that my voice was too loud and that it wasn't valid. When I'd have great ideas and great things that I wanted to do, I would always second guess myself because I was like, no, this isn't good and you're not capable. I'd also have this thing on my shoulder, almost like this voice that would consistently tell me that whenever big things happened, that it was an accident and that I was going to be found out. And so what I'd do is I would just hide and I would go into rooms and I would try my best to just blend in to make other people feel comfortable, because the 6-year-old me with the learning disability was still present at every layer and level of my life. Now, the other thing that I learned was that I had someone in my corner, someone that believed in me and believed that there was something worth investing in. And so I moved forward with that. My mom put me in schools outside of our neighborhood because she wanted to give me the best opportunity. And so I went to high school, and in high school, I was told that the likelihood of me graduating was slim to none. I graduated high school. Thank you. And when I got to university, and my high school teachers told me that I probably wouldn't make it, I graduated with honors. And so a part of this story is obviously about how important it is to sit in being underestimated, which we'll talk about in a second. But the other part of this is about how important it is for you to tap into the vision that you have for yourself. Because what people will do is they will write a narrative for you that has nothing to do with you. You were given ideas and concepts and things that no one else will believe in because it wasn't given to them. And unfortunately, we live in a world where people don't validate it, and we rely on validation in order to feel like we need to take steps to move forward. Now, in university, I decided to study international development in theater, one, because I grew up in a neighborhood that was complicated, and I wanted to understand the world, but also I was a weird theater kid and I needed an outlet to channel all of this. And so what that did for me is it opened up an opportunity in my third year where I got selected to go to Uganda and to live in East Africa. And of course, when I got that opportunity, out of 200 people, I asked, who made the mistake? How could I be qualified to go halfway around the world, and why do I need to be here? Now, my journey in Uganda, there are many lessons that I can share which we don't have time for. But one of the most important was that I was brought to work with an organization called Shanti Uganda that focuses on infant and maternal care, wellness, and mindfulness. They use yoga and meditation as a tool to reprogram belief systems for mothers and also to elevate our internal environments. And so that opportunity planted a seed. I connected that to the stories that my mom would tell me about always imagining what I wanted and remembering that it's up to me in order to continue to invest in what's going on up here. And so after that internship, I made it home and I started investigating. I started investigating the trauma that was built up from being in environments where people were losing their lives and it was normal. I started investigating the internalized PTSD that a lot of us live with because of things that we see and we don't understand. I started really trying to understand why I kept holding myself back in my ideas and my business and how it could have been connected to something else. And I went online and I found this person that forever has changed my life, and his name is Les Brown. And so I specifically remember landing on his video, and he specifically spoke about the fact that he was in a classroom and he was labeled educably mentally retarded, and by a teacher who just didn't like the way that he spoke. And because of that label, he would never stand up. He would always put himself down until one day a teacher came into the room and they said, Les, don't ever let anyone define your narrative or your story for you. Today, Les Brown is one of the top 5 speakers in the world. Now, yeah. And so off of Les Brown, I started studying what he was doing. I started studying the habits of successful people. And I started imagining the version of myself that I wanted to be through utilizing access to free resources on YouTube. And I came across this idea of visualization. And so I was already kind of integrated into the meditation space and into yoga, and I started using yoga as a tool to really get myself centered and to learn about my body and my mind and how to connect it. But what visualization taught me was how to start planting ideas and pictures in my brain so that I could rewrite the narrative. Now, what a lot of us don't know is that our brain doesn't know the difference between the images that we see every day and the images that we program. Therefore, in order to actively increase your ability to thrive, if you are not programming intentional images into your brain, you are allowing the world to do it for you. Your environment actually shapes the majority of your behavior. And so on an active day, you have to program images that make you uncomfortable, but that show you the best version of your life in order for your brain to start adopting the belief system that it's possible. Now, there are going to be people in this room that are like, okay, this is very wishy-washy, so let's talk about the science. Fear, which Sarah spoke about, happens in our brain because it's supposed to keep us safe. When you go for a position and apply for it, and you second guess whether or not you're worthy of being there, even though you have studied and you've worked and you have lived experience, that's fear. When you know that you have to get a task done and you're on Netflix, your reward system leans you into watching Netflix over doing the thing that you want because there's something pulling you back from it, that thing that you've been putting off for years because you said, oh, I'm not qualified yet and I want to wait until I'm ready. That's fear. And your brain is doing something good for you. It's trying to keep you safe. However, if you consistently stay safe throughout your entire life, what you're going to end up being and becoming is a version of yourself that doesn't attain its highest possible potential. I started getting up every day and I started visualizing and creating different exercises because I needed it in order to heal and in order to figure out how to build my career. And so one of the exercises that I did is I started imagining people in a room and the people that I really, really, really wanted to one day be my mentors. These individuals were Les Brown, Oprah, Janelle Monáe. In 2019, I was sitting inside of the Sheraton Hotel, and a gentleman that looked very familiar to me in a Mickey Mouse t-shirt walked up to me with an American accent, and he said, "Hi, miss. I'm so sorry, but I'm looking for a vegan restaurant." And I was wrapped up in an application for a grant. A lot of us are working toward those deadlines, so I see you. And I looked up and Les Brown was standing in front of me. And so I paused for a second, and I was like, universe, don't you play with my emotions? Because sometimes we ask for things, you know, we're like, let's ask for it. And then it comes and you're like, this is too much. I don't know what's going on. But I had done the exercises and I had prepared myself. And I paused and was like, what is going on right now? And then before he walked away, I stopped him and I said, hey, Les, I'm so sorry. It just took me a moment to just find my center. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Domanique Grant. I'm a singer-songwriter and an entrepreneur. And your tapes have transformed my life. Your story has transformed my life. And actually, I have them all on my phone. And I just wanted to say thank you for showing up every day, despite what the world has written for you, and for giving people like me courage. The next day, I got to open for Les Brown. The reason that I wanted to start with the Les Brown story is because he is one of the top 5 speakers in the world. And little 6-year-old me would have never imagined that until I started to. My second encounter, which transformed my life, was a year when I was in New York. I would go to New York just to network. I'd go to festivals. I would hustle. And I was minding my own business at Afropunk in a crowd full of 50,000 people. And I turned to my left and Janelle Monáe was just walking in my direction. I said, listen, universe. I said, don't do this again because we're not playing games. And she walked up to me and was about to walk by me. And I stopped her and I said, I'm so sorry, Miss Monáe. She's like, that's a really weird thing to call me. And I said, I know, but you're just so fabulous. And it's the only thing that came out. And I just said, hey, I just want to say thank you. I want to thank you for reminding artists like me, women of color, human beings, that we can create music and art without limitations, and we can just be ourselves while doing it. Visualization and mindfulness is not about some wishy-washy thing in the air that's helping you kind of be grounded. It's about understanding the science of the brain. If you're not prepared for the opportunities that show up in front of you, you will lose them just as quickly as you ask for them. However, when you begin programming ideas, images, and stories into your brain that are outside of your comfort zone, what ends up happening is when you sleep, your brain starts to work toward finding solutions to them. It's a part of our DNA. When you start looking at bigger things for yourself, you start supporting yourself and going after bigger opportunities and asking for more. And those opportunities will start showing up. Now, I do believe it was a bit of a blessing that these two people walked up to me, but I don't believe it's a coincidence because when I was 18, I went to a show by myself, saw KRS-One, met him the day before at an event with 5,000 people, introduced myself and said thank you, and at one of the biggest venues in Toronto, he called me out of an audience. Probably shouldn't have been there because I didn't have an ID, but I got it, and I'm so sorry, I'm not gonna say the venue. But I got to perform with KRS-One, who's a hip hop legend. And so, thank you. When a lot of people ask me about my journey, how did you go from a 6-year-old kid who was told at every stage of her life that she wouldn't make it through the education system? How did you go to Uganda and volunteer through an internship, be invited back a year or two later to perform for World AIDS Day and then receive your first humanitarian award? How did you do all of these things? It wasn't just because I worked hard. It was because I learned how the mind works in order to reprogram my trauma and in order to reprogram the stories that I did not ask for nor I did not want. I inherited things, and we have inherited things that are not ours. And so I want to just get a yes, yes, if we're okay with releasing some of the stories that aren't ours. Yes, yes? I want to get a yes, yes if we can become open to reprogramming our thoughts that no longer serve us. Can I get a yes, yes? And I want to get a yes, yes if we are okay today with being a little bit uncomfortable, but knowing that that can transform who we are, and what we are creating for ourselves and our family. Can I get a yes, yes? Yes, yes. All right. The last accomplishment that came to me from visualization was imagining myself performing at the Olympics. In 2015, I was invited to be in the opening and closing ceremonies for the Pan American Games and the Pan Am Games. I got to walk Team Jamaica, my mother's team, In that ceremony, my mother is a powerful woman who owns her disability. And so I just want to remind you that you have the power to transform lives with your mind. Your story and narrative is your story. And every day you can choose to wake up and to reprogram that for yourself, despite your brain telling you that you're not enough and despite fear trying to protect you. But the only way that we can do that is if we intentionally choose to try things that are uncomfortable and to believe that it's possible. Thank you so much.